In human history, some new technologies have changed everything. Historians call them technological revolutions. The Industrial Revolution was one of them, and it changed the entire world. Economics, warfare, and the entire society were transformed. But right now, we're living through another technological revolution. You guessed it, artificial intelligence. With the launch of ChatGPT, the potential of AI can't be ignored anymore. Suddenly, AI can answer basically any question you ask it. The new technology is rapidly making its way into the biggest companies in the world, such as Google, Apple, or Microsoft. They are investing a lot into artificial intelligence because it has a huge potential. Goldman Sachs predicts that investment into AI could reach $200 billion in 2025, but even this huge figure could be a conservative estimate. Over the past decade, Google has already invested an estimated $200 billion into artificial intelligence. In the span of 6 months, $40 billion of venture capital has been invested into the technology. And no wonder, artificial intelligence can make businesses a lot of money. In a few years, computers will be able to replace a lot of jobs that were once done by expensive employees. This is concerning for a lot of people because it could lead to mass job losses. But on a political level, this isn't the only thing to be concerned about. While the technology could be very disruptive at home, it could also be very disruptive internationally. We're talking about the US and China situation here. You see, artificial intelligence basically has an infinite number of applications. It can and will be used by businesses to make money, but it can also be used for military purposes. This includes things like cyber warfare, military command and control, and automated weapons. In the not-too-distant future, the country with the best AI will have an edge over other countries militarily. There are 2 countries who would love to have this, the United States and China. If you want to achieve superiority as a country, having advanced artificial intelligence will be a must. Both the United States and China are obviously very interested in this military superiority thing. In various national security documents, this shared interest in AI has been openly talked about. There's even talk of an artificial intelligence arms race between the 2 powers. But obviously, there could only be one winner in this AI race. This country will be the one who gets the best technology the fastest. In this video, we'll go over how this race is taking place and how it will change the world we live in. Now, artificial intelligence is based on complex algorithms. We don't understand them fully, but there's one algorithm that we do know about, the YouTube algorithm. Without your support, this video won't get too far on YouTube. We put a lot of effort in these videos, so your likes are greatly appreciated. If you want to see more of these videos, consider subscribing. Thanks.
Need to speed up building China into a strong country with advanced manufacturing.
Age of AI, data is the new oil, so China is the new Saudi Arabia.
Artificial intelligence has been a crucial tool for many nations' militaries for years.
Artificial intelligence on the battlefield carries great potential, but also higher risk.
Made in China 2025 plan, it aims to create a next-generation artificial intelligence development plan.
The United States and China are without a doubt the leaders in the AI space. Other countries like Canada, Japan, or South Korea have been trying to develop their own AI systems. But all the notable AI developments today are located either in the United States or China. The major technology firms like Google, Apple, or Microsoft are all American, as the US is still the world leader when it comes to digital technology. It's likely that Silicon Valley will continue to be a big player in the technology field for years to come. But China isn't too far behind, with state-led initiatives trying to push China's AI industry forward. The CCP has announced its goal of achieving global AI leadership by 2030. In China, the government has a lot of power over its companies because of the communist aspects of the CCP. Xi Jinping can set goals for his domestic AI industry, and 10 companies like Weibo or Tencent simply have to follow. With all the plans Xi Jinping is making, it's clear that China is trying to become a global AI superpower, but the United States isn't happy with what Xi Jinping is trying to achieve. The CCP's artificial intelligence could be a threat to the United States, especially when it surpasses American capabilities. AI will be a vital asset to have in the future because it can be applied in so many ways. On the business side, the country with the best AI systems will have an economic benefit. It will have the most competitive, most innovative, and most productive economy in the world. This is because AI provides an economy with, well, intelligence for a very low price. Intelligence will turn into a kind of resource that countries can use to produce goods and services. It's kind of like electricity in some ways, because that was also once a brand new and life-changing resource. And it will have just as much economic value. Artificial intelligence is expected to add $15 trillion to the global economy by 2030. Just to point out how insane that is, that equals to about 56% of the current US GDP. AI will change the global economy, and the country with the best AI systems will be able to grow tremendously from it. This is something that China or the United States obviously aim for. They want to secure their AI resources because they could be just as important as energy resources in the future. But AI isn't only important in an economic sense, but also in a military sense. A lot of the military operations require human intelligence, whether it be logistics, research and development, or military strategy and planning. Humans always had to use their own intelligence, but in the future, artificial intelligence will be able to take over some of these demanding tasks. AI will simply be superior to human intelligence in a lot of ways. Just in the sheer computing power alone, artificial intelligence will easily beat humans, and there's no doubt that artificial intelligence can help with logistics, research, and development or military strategy and planning. On the logistics side, AI has a lot of potential. It could say which ammunition should move where at what time. It could manage supply chains and identify supply chain weaknesses. It could plan routes and optimize military transportation. These are just some of the advantages AI can offer in logistics. Military logistics are mind-bogglingly complex, and a lot of human labor is needed to make it work. In modern warfare, it takes more people to prepare and supply an army than there are in the army itself. The so-called tooth-to-nail ratio says how many military personnel are needed to support each soldier. In the Iraq War, this ratio was about 8-to-1, with only 11% of US personnel actually fighting with boots on the ground. The rest of personnel, a whopping 89%, was involved in things like logistics and planning. If AI can make military logistics and planning more efficient, there will be less of a need for personnel behind the scenes. As a result, the entire military operation will be dramatically more efficient, and with research and development, it'll be just the same. AI has already proven itself in the research and development field multiple times. For example, scientists have been able to discover a new antibiotic with the help of AI computer systems. If AI can already understand molecular chemistry, it's probably able to understand military engineering too. In the future, artificial intelligence may be able to help design rockets, drones, fighter jets, and much more. This is all hypothetical, of course, as we don't know the limitations of AI yet. But AI has already been used for designing chemical weapons. Researchers have designed 40,000 lethal molecules in just 6 hours with the help of artificial intelligence. So the country with the best artificial intelligence may have a military advantage. An AI-supported military may be able to design the best weapons, and the possibilities of AI don't end here. Artificial intelligence may also be able to help with devising military strategies. Military strategies are incredibly complex and incredibly important. To quote Sun Tzu, every battle is won before it is fought. To win a war, military planners need to assess risks and deal with unknown variables, which is very hard to do. But artificial intelligence may be able to do a good job because of its sheer computing power. Assessing risks and dealing with unknown variables is nothing for an advanced AI. Now, it's very unlikely that AI will make strategic decisions entirely on its own. AI can't fully automate strategic decision-making yet. According to business strategists, in its current development stage, AI is not smart enough to make complex strategic decisions, but AI can already be used for the building blocks of strategy, like data analysis. For example, computer vision can be applied. With AI, computers can analyze images and videos to derive meaningful information. Military strategists can use this to analyze satellite imagery and detect enemy forces. Even with today's technology, AI can help military strategists a lot with gathering intelligence. Therefore, the country that integrates AI the best could have a more effective military strategy. And this is not to mention the in-combat applications of AI. During wartime, a military needs to be flexible and make fast decisions on how to act. Artificial intelligence is not only able to deal with complex problems, but it can also decide things in a matter of seconds. AI systems can simply process more information than a human and faster. When an AI-supported military is attacked, it'll be able to counterattack in no time because of computer guidance. And on the battlefield itself, AI will also be able to do some interesting stuff. Perhaps the biggest in-combat applications are autonomous vehicles and drones. The United States has already tested a fully autonomous F-16 fighter jet entirely controlled by AI. Things like tanks or warships could follow soon. Even lethal autonomous weapons systems, also known as killer robots, aren't entirely out of the picture. The definition of a lethal autonomous weapon is that it can independently search for and engage a target. Allegedly, such weapons have already been used in the Ukraine war in the form of drones. Some drones have the capability to independently find and attack enemy forces without human oversight. Whether this form of warfare will be banned is the question, because the United Nations is split on how it could be regulated. Therefore, it's likely that autonomous vehicles and weapons will revolutionize combat. It's crucially important for militaries to implement AI this way, because non-autonomous systems will get outdated. Apart from this lethal application, artificial intelligence can also provide situational awareness on the battlefield. In the military, information about the environment can decide who wins the battle. The United States is already developing and testing AI tools, which can support the military with all-domain situational awareness. These systems can pull together massive amounts of data to provide commanders with a clear picture of the battlefield. This can speed up and improve decision-making. Implementing AI in this way can give a military an advantage, because this sort of information decides wars. Another military application of AI that has to be mentioned is the one in cyberspace. In the online era, cyberspace has become an integral part of national security. Almost every aspect of society is linked with the internet, whether it be the financial system, public infrastructure, or national defense. It is becoming more and more important to protect these systems against cyber attacks, because the threat to national security is real. For example, North Korea is very active in the cyberspace, conducting multiple cyber attacks. North Korean hackers once stole close to $1 billion from the national bank in Bangladesh. Actors like North Korea like cyber attacks, because they can be pulled off remotely, but they still are very potent. And guess what? Artificial intelligence can help with these cyber attacks. The new developments in AI are already used by hackers to generate malware. As AI gets more advanced, the potential cyber attacks from its users will only get more dangerous. So the country with the best AI can deliver the most deadly cyber attacks. However, AI is a double-edged sword. It can also be used to detect weaknesses in your own digital systems and defend against them. It's likely that the country with the best AI will also have the best defended cyberspace. In future warfare, cyber attacks will play a huge role, and AI could decide which country wins the cyber war. When it comes to overall military applications, the importance of AI cannot be understated. What we just discussed is only the tip of the iceberg. When it gets implemented in the military, AI will change the nature of warfare. Going back to the United States and China, it's obvious why these countries are so interested in this technology. They're two powerful nations with opposite strategic interests, which is why they want to have a strong military. It's inevitable that AI will get used by them, because otherwise, their enemy will do so and be vastly superior. The country who can rapidly and effectively integrate AI into its military will gain a significant advantage. So let's dive deeper into the strategies of the United States and China to win this AI race.
Use of artificial intelligence on the battlefield is both a major and potentially scary goal.
Amazon, Google, and other mega corporations have used them to build vast commercial empires.
Baidu claimed that its chatbot Ernie is beating ChatGPT. You can see these companies come up and become very powerful.
China is deploying robotic weapons along the border with India.
The country that is able to most rapidly and effectively integrate new technology into warfighting wins.
On July 20th, 2017, Chinese authorities published this document. This multi-page long statement is the blueprint for China's AI dominance by 2030. The CCP has divided its goal for 2030 into 3 smaller steps. In 2020, China's AI competitiveness should have entered the first echelon internationally. The blueprint said that some of the world's leading AI companies should be Chinese by now. Within the government, the CCP should have gathered high-level personnel and innovation teams to help form AI policy. It's hard to judge if the CCP achieved these goals already, but China has certainly advanced in the AI field. Chinese AI researchers now publish more papers and secure more patents than their American counterparts. This doesn't mean China is necessarily ahead of the US, but it is certainly competitive. When it comes to AI companies, China has secured a second place internationally. Chinese companies aren't at the same level as Silicon Valley, but firms like Baidu or Alibaba are certainly close followers. Baidu, basically China's Google, has made its own AI-powered chatbot. With the first step completed, the CCP's second bundle of goals are set for 2025. By 2025, AI should be the driving force of industrial upgrading and economic transformation. In China, the government is responsible for making economic progress instead of the free market. And currently, the CCP is betting on AI. They wanted to become the main source for national growth by 2025. One of the reasons why the CCP is looking at artificial intelligence is to escape the middle-income trap. Manufacturing simple goods, like plastics for example, can provide lower-income countries with an opportunity. But once an economy has grown to a middle-income level, it gets tricky. The initial low-value industries aren't sufficient for economic growth anymore. To go from a middle-income nation to a high-income one, countries need industries that provide a lot of value. China is one of these countries. China has been able to grow tremendously from low-value adding industries, such as low-end manufacturing, but in order to continue growing, China needs to find high-value adding industries. Right now, the CCP struggles with this, but with the rise of the AI industry, this problem might get fixed. As mentioned earlier, the AI industry is projected to be at least $15 trillion by 2030. If China manages to get a significant market share on this industry, the country can escape the middle-income trap. That's why by 2025, China wants to have a global high-value AI industry. To complete the final stage of the plan in 2030, China should become the leading AI innovation center. According to the document, China will occupy the commanding heights of AI technology. It also says that AI will become a core technology for key systems in all aspects of applications. One of these key systems is national defense, or the People's Liberation Army. If China manages to achieve this by 2030, it'll be no small feat. The Chinese government wants to get it done through utilizing its centralized authority. According to the blueprint, the CCP will fully give play to the advantages of the socialist system to concentrate forces. This means that the CCP will try to get everyone in China on board to make advanced AI systems. The quote-unquote private Chinese businesses are pushed by the CCP to rapidly create the technology. This includes huge tech firms like Huawei, Tencent, or ByteDance. Now, it's not that these companies are directly controlled by the CCP, but in the majority of Chinese private companies, the CCP has a lot of influence. In a 2019 study, 92% of China's top 500 companies had CCP bodies within their corporate structure. This means that the lines dividing government and corporate policies are blurry to say the least. In order to achieve the CCP's agenda of AI dominance, private companies are going to help the government. And this concept is not new either. In order to make the social credit system, the CCP has used companies before. For example, the company SenseTime has made parts of the facial recognition system used by the CCP. You know, the cameras that scan the citizens in all major Chinese cities? Unsurprisingly, the CCP was a major investor in SenseTime. For many future AI developments, the Chinese government will go to the same corporate route. An example of this are the major research labs that have opened up in Beijing's Zhongguancun district, dubbed China's own Silicon Valley. Tons of companies, both domestic and foreign, are trying to develop new AI technologies there. This includes Chinese tech giants Baidu and ByteDance, but also American companies like Intel or Microsoft. Microsoft Research Asia, based in China, is Microsoft's largest research institute outside of the United States. Chinese authorities have incentivized this because of the R&D tax incentives. Companies in China are allowed a pre-tax deduction of R&D expenses, which allows them to deduct 200% of their R&D expenses from their taxable income. This makes doing AI research in China very attractive for corporations, which indirectly helps the CCP's AI agenda. Another clear strategy of the CCP is to create AI-related talent at home. In 2018, the Ministry of Education in China mandated high schools to implement AI into their curriculum. Educating a new generation of data scientists and AI experts is a clear way to get ahead of other countries, and it's much needed too. The demand for these positions in China is way bigger than the supply of educated people. 75% of Chinese business executives have trouble hiring data scientists, and the situation is also dire with other AI-related roles. In fact, China is expected to have a tech talent gap of more than 4 million in the near future. Not that this problem is uniquely Chinese, of course, as the United States is also facing shortages with its tech workforce. But the country who is able to solve this issue will get ahead. In the future, the country with the best tech talent will be able to develop AI faster, and China, with its much bigger population, seems to have an advantage in this area. According to a Georgetown University report, China will have twice as many STEM PhD graduates as the United States by 2025. Many of these STEM PhD graduates will be able to help with creating new AI technology. If the CCP manages to scale its universities and surpass the United States, it can create a bigger talent pool for AI developers. This will obviously benefit companies in China, but also the government. You see, not every new AI system in China will be developed for private companies to scale the economy. Especially for military applications, the CCP will use AI for its own benefit. The People's Liberation Army spends an estimated 1 to 2% of its budget on AI, a significant investment when compared to other countries. For example, the US military only spends an estimated 0.1 to 0.2% of its budget on the technology. It seems like Washington is changing course, with the Pentagon requesting more funding for AI projects. Some estimate that China is ahead of the US in AI military spending. Others claim that the two are on par. At least it's clear that China is allocating a bigger part of its military budget on the technology. And no wonder. China is trying to match the United States militarily. President Xi Jinping is telling his military to prepare for war, with the situation in Taiwan getting very tense. For years now, he's been calling on his military to achieve world-class standards. In other words, United States matching standards. When he got his third term in office, Xi vowed to make his army a Great Wall of Steel to protect Chinese interests. Now this means that China is competing militarily with the United States. That isn't easy for the CCP, because arguably the United States still has the most powerful military in the world. But Xi Jinping thinks that the People's Liberation Army can match the United States through the use of AI. His Russian colleague, Vladimir Putin, certainly agrees with this. He has said that whoever becomes the leader in this sphere becomes the ruler of the world. China certainly wants to compete, and it does this through the so-called intelligentization of its army. This became apparent when the Chinese government released a white paper in 2019 called China's National Defense in the New Era. In this document, it was said that international military competition is undergoing historic changes. China's prediction is that intelligent warfare is on the horizon. The concept of intelligent warfare means that wars will be fought with weapons based on artificial intelligence. This document was huge news at the time because the world's second biggest military claimed that AI would be essential for warfare. The CCP made it clear that it wanted to speed up the development of an intelligent military. According to the white paper, the broad goal of the Chinese military is to match the US by the middle of the century. Because of China's push towards an intelligent military, it looks like the CCP wants to use artificial intelligence to achieve this. Oftentimes, military revolutions shake up the international order of power. According to PLA officials, there are 4 main areas where the Chinese military wants to implement AI. First of all, AI will be implemented to control unmanned vehicles and unmanned weapons. This includes things like high-speed combat, drones, submarine drones, and possibly even unmanned ships carrying these drones. Yes, they actually want to make autonomous carriers for autonomous drones. These unmanned vehicles have many applications in warfare, as we've already seen the use of drones in the war in Ukraine. Attacking the enemy with unmanned vehicles is simply more efficient and faster, since they don't have human limitations. They can be used to fight a war of attrition and drain enemy defenses, because there are no human lives involved. The PLA is also developing drones and autonomous vehicles for intelligent military logistics and reconnaissance. It could be very powerful if the PLA could get supplies to the front line automatically, and it would be just as powerful to spy on the enemy with autonomous drones. Some time ago, it seems like science fiction to have AI-operated drones, ships, and other vehicles in warfare, but with the rise of intelligent warfare, this might become reality. The Chinese military certainly thinks it will. The second implementation of AI in warfare is the processing of large amounts of information. With machine learning and artificial intelligence, extremely large data sets can be analyzed and filtered. The PLA wants to use this for military purposes because the technology can provide crucial information during warfare. Modern wars are very chaotic, with tons of information coming from all different sides. But AI can process this information and provide the military with a clear picture of the battlefield, aka situational awareness. This is not some minor detail. The military who has the best intelligence on the battlefield has a higher chance to win the battle. So implementing AI to process data will win you future wars. Another way the PLA wants to implement AI is the speeding up of military decision-making. AI will assist the military's command and control to make complex decisions and make them fast. Some AI models can already help with predicting future scenarios, although you have to be careful with this. If you give the computer the wrong data, it won't be able to make good predictions about a war. It's unlikely that AI will be fully implemented in China's military command because of the risks associated with it. The PLA doesn't want AI to make one miscalculation and start a conflict, for example, but using AI to assist human decision-making will be a key component of intelligent warfare. For example, AI can detect any biases in human decisions. The computer can give an unbiased view based on the data it has collected. This will also speed up decision-making, since the military analysis doesn't have to be done by humans. The fourth implementation of AI in the PLA has less to do with the actual warfare itself. With the strategy of cognitive warfare, the PLA is trying to find ways of winning wars without having to fight. Cognitive warfare is influencing the enemy's attitudes and behaviors to gain an advantage. By spreading propaganda or misinformation, the military can influence public opinion at home and abroad. For example, China could try to influence the US public opinion on Taiwan. AI can help with this because it has a good understanding of human psychology and emotions. Psychological operations are already part of US military strategy, so the idea of cognitive warfare isn't completely new. Influencing the enemy's emotions is a very powerful concept in modern warfare. When the enemy doesn't believe it stands a chance, there's a good chance it won't fight anyway. If the PLA can implement AI into cognitive warfare, it could be able to influence the enemy's emotions pretty effectively. Although this application is arguably the vaguest, it's still very potent. From these four main areas of application, it's clear that the CCP wants to integrate AI into its military. In doing so, it's trying to prepare for intelligent warfare, but the CCP rarely develops the military AI technologies itself. Just like the Pentagon, the CCP often hires contractors to do the work for them. A Politico study suggests that 60% of China's AI purchases come from private companies. Now, private companies in China aren't as private as in the United States, with the widespread CCP involvement. But nevertheless, hiring private companies to do the work is a lot different than developing AI technology independently. The question is, why is the PLA using these private companies? The answer is Xi Jinping's strategy of military-civil fusion, known as MCF. He wants to eliminate the barriers between China's civilian and commercial sectors and its military and defense complex. The president even chairs a development committee, which is responsible for achieving this military-civil fusion goal. The idea has a lot of potential because it basically calls for both the civil and military side to share resources. You know, socialism. When it comes to AI technology, Xi Jinping wants private companies to share developments with the Chinese military. This is exploiting the dual-use nature of AI because it can be used for both civilian and military purposes. When a commercial company has developed AI for autonomous driving, the CCP could be able to use it for military logistics. So eliminating the barriers between the military and civilian and commercial sectors could give the CCP access to powerful AI technology. And sometimes, the CCP's attempts to obtain AI technology from others are international. The FBI has warned companies of Chinese attempts to steal American AI technology. That's military-civil fusion on a global level. The Chinese military doesn't want to develop all the technology on its own. Getting it from the civilian and commercial side is much faster and cheaper. That's why military-civil fusion is a key part of China's AI strategy. It allows the CCP to mobilize all of China's assets and technological developments. According to the US government, MCF aims to pave the way for the PRC to be the first country to transition to intelligent warfare. The four main areas of AI implementation will be achieved with this strategy. So, this is how the CCP is preparing its military for next-generation conflict.
Well, the Pentagon unveiled its plan to increase its use of artificial intelligence. The plan calls for accelerating the use of AI across the military. That'll include warfare. It'll include intelligence gathering. The Pentagon also warned that the U.S. must focus on AI, in part because Russia and China are also investing in this type of technology.
The Pentagon can't sit idly and do nothing with artificial intelligence. If the United States fails to implement artificial intelligence into its military, it won't be a global superpower anymore. This idea isn't new to the Department of Defense. The Pentagon said that it must adopt AI to maintain its strategic position, prevail on future battlefields, and safeguard this order. So, let's look at the Pentagon's plan to adopt AI. Some of the first mentions of a military AI strategy were back in 2018, with the year's version of the National Defense Strategy. It said that the department will invest broadly in military application of autonomy, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. In June of 2022, the Pentagon released another document called the Responsible Artificial Intelligence Strategy and Implementation Pathway. The strategy puts an emphasis on ethics and safety, which seems like a good idea when creating new military technology. The Department of Defense makes clear that AI needs to be adopted in a responsible way, but even though AI can have unwanted side effects, the risks of not implementing the technology are even bigger. The Pentagon says it cannot maintain its competitive advantage without transforming itself into an AI-ready organization. In a way, the Department of Defense is forced to develop AI technology. Not everyone likes this, as some people are worried about the negative sides of automated warfare. This includes the likes of Elon Musk and Stephen Hawking. They think that AI will be way too dangerous if it's used by militaries, because it can be very lethal. With all the talk about ethics and safety, the Pentagon is trying to take this into account. By implementing ethical principles and legal procedures, it hopes the AI won't get out of control, but overall, the strategy is clear. The Department of Defense will develop artificial intelligence no matter what. This is because it doesn't want to not lose against China in a possible confrontation. In its competitive AI strategy, the department identified tons of LOEs, or lines of effort. In fact, there were 64 LOEs in the 2022 document alone. Most of the points have to do with bureaucratic governance, so we won't bore you with the details, but some of the bigger strategies are very interesting for us to understand. In 2018, the Pentagon created the Joint Artificial Intelligence Center, JAIC in short. It led the military's AI development by delivering and adopting the technology. In 2020, the center signed an $800 million contract with Booz Allen Hamilton to deliver AI-related services. This is one of the first big steps to adopt AI into the US military. In 2022, however, the JAIC was merged with other Department of Defense bodies to form the Chief Digital and Artificial Intelligence Office. This office, called the CDAO, now leads the military's AI strategy and policy. But it's not like the CDAO will develop all the military AI systems on its own. The individual military components, like the Navy or the Air Force, are also responsible for doing so. If the US Navy wants to develop an AI for autonomous vessels, it will do it individually. The CDAO is just there to support and coordinate these efforts, and when possible, it's there to identify opportunities for collaboration. For example, the Navy can develop autonomous fighter jets together with the Air Force, as they could both use them. With AI in general, the military aims for centralized coordination and decentralized execution. The military's components individually integrate AI into their systems, and the CDAO provides guidance. When it comes to the actual development of military AI technology, there are different ways of approaching it. Usually the military doesn't actually develop technology by itself. The M1 Abrams tank, one of the best US tanks, wasn't made by the Pentagon. Instead, it was designed by the company Chrysler Defense. These kinds of companies are called defense contractors, and they make much of the weapons for the military. In military terms, using commercial weapon development and manufacturing is called a defense acquisition. A key part of the Pentagon's strategy is to use this acquisition idea for new AI technologies. The department wants to develop an acquisition toolkit to get AI technology from tech companies. It's kind of similar to China's military civil fusion, but then the free market version. However, the idea of purchasing software from tech companies is very new for the US military. To do this, the Department of Defense needs to make some internal policy changes. First of all, it needs to make requirements for commercial AI software. The software needs to be tested on cybersecurity, performance, ethics, etc. So the Pentagon will need to make rules and guidelines for military AI technology. On top of that, it needs to strengthen ties with Silicon Valley companies, which is an unexpected turn of events. Traditionally, the department purchases things from corporations like Lockheed Martin or Boeing, but now it has to deal with big tech and Silicon Valley startups, because they are the ones who make innovative AI technologies. One of the first big projects the Pentagon launched with Silicon Valley contractors was Project Maven. This project started in 2017, and it was supposed to develop computer vision to analyze large amounts of video data. This would help the military identify objects from drones and other aerial footage. The Pentagon hired Google to make algorithms for this purpose, but that didn't end well. In 2018, the department asked Google to improve drone targeting, which could have lethal applications. Google employees rebelled because they didn't want to make deadly military technology. Soon after, Google pulled out of the contract. This was a major blow to the Pentagon, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Not long after, Microsoft and Amazon joined Project Maven. They were more positive about the military applications of technology. The Microsoft president said this in 2018 after the Pentagon collaboration was announced. "We believe in the strong defense of the United States, and we want the people who defend it to have access to the nation's best technology, including from Microsoft." In the same year, Jeff Bezos made clear that he agrees with this. If big tech companies are going to turn their back on the US Department of Defense, this country is going to be in trouble, patriot or not. Jeff Bezos clearly doesn't mind becoming a defense contractor. In fact, Amazon is already one of the biggest AI developers for the military. With its Amazon Web Services, the company has won a joint warfighting cloud capability contract. Basically, Amazon will start developing cloud systems for military use. It will help the Pentagon store data, which is crucial for developing all sorts of AI systems. But Amazon isn't the only company helping with the joint warfighting cloud capability. Oracle, Microsoft, and Google also won contracts. The total value of the 4 cloud development deals is $9 billion. We guess the defense business is too good for Google to reject after all. By the way, Google never really left Project Maven. Through its sister company, Google Ventures, the tech giant was still involved in the AI project. Google-linked startups like Orbital Insight, Crowd AI, or Clarif AI joined the Maven project when Google supposedly left. And believe it or not, Apple could also move into the defense industry. It has recently acquired an augmented reality company called Mira. The company makes VR headsets, and it has signed contracts with the US military. The Department of Defense wants to use these VR headsets combined with AI to train personnel. Training people in an artificial environment is much cheaper than conducting real-life exercises. Whether Apple would like to stay in this business is the question, but it can make a lot of money with the military. Anyways, it's clear that Silicon Valley's tech giants are starting to work with the Pentagon en masse. In the future, we could see the likes of Amazon or Google becoming major defense contractors, but in this new branch of defense contracting, we could also see some new names pop up. There are many tech companies that specifically focus on military technology. One of the biggest names on the list is Palantir Technologies, a company backed by billionaire Peter Thiel. The company was backed by the CIA's venture capital arm when it was founded, which says a lot about the sorts of products it makes. Palantir makes AI-backed data analysis tools, which have a lot of military applications. However, the company's entry into the military complex was quite dramatic. In 2016, Palantir sued the Pentagon in order to sell a product, and it won. This was a huge moment for commercial military technology in general. Basically, the Pentagon admitted that commercial software was better than what it could develop by itself. Taxpayer dollars would be spent more effectively on software from the market. From then on, tech startups actually had a chance to sell to the US military, and Palantir certainly did. The company has racked up US defense contracts ever since. This includes $463 million from the Special Operations Command, $100 million from the Air Force, and $229 million from the Army Research Lab. Palantir's products are incredibly valuable for the military, mainly for command and control purposes. Its AI software called Gotham can provide mission planning, defense decision-making, and real-time battlefield intelligence. With commercial artificial intelligence like this, the United States can integrate AI into its military. And Palantir isn't the only company providing AI software to the Pentagon. The AI defense software business is spreading like wildfire. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon Technologies, and Northrop Grumman are all making artificial intelligence systems, just to name a few. The competition in the defense software space is heating up, which will only increase the quality of the AI products. Working together with these companies seems like the most effective strategy. They will become a major US defense contractors and solve the Pentagon's problem of having to develop AI systems. Now, back to the Pentagon's strategy. In order to make these high-tech AI systems work, you need a lot of data. We won't go over all of the technical details, but it comes down to this. Artificial intelligence is trained on data, and the more quality data you have, the better your AI will become. Here's an example. To improve military logistics with AI, you need to collect tons of data about military logistics to train the algorithm. The Pentagon realized how important this data is for artificial intelligence. 2 years ago, it released a memo called Creating Data Advantage. The memorandum said that the military should transform itself into a data-centric organization. Data should be shared across the Department of Defense and stored using industry best practices. This links back to the Joint Warfighting Cloud capability, which the tech giants are developing for the Pentagon. If anyone knows how to store insane amounts of data in a cloud, it's these corporations. And the US military has data to store. Back in 2017, the military was already collecting 22 terabytes of operational data every day. That's more than 5 seasons worth of video for the National Football League. All this operational data consists of information about battlefields, logistics, and transportation. And with the data inflow increasing by the year, this figure of 22 terabytes a day is likely much higher in 2023. The visual data alone has become gigantic in the military. Right now, US drone systems can see details the size of 6 inches from 20,000 feet high in the air. And these incredibly detailed drones can observe an area of 25 square kilometers all at once. One single drone can generate 6,000 terabytes of raw data in 24 hours before it is compressed. This data is very valuable to collect since it provides so much intelligence to the military. During a war, this drone will be able to spot every single enemy soldier within a huge range, but storing and processing these huge amounts of data is a giant issue. That's why creating a giant central data depository is a key part of the Pentagon strategy. In the modern day, data is gold. Once you have the data stored and processed, you can start training the AI systems, and when it comes to AI systems, the Department of Defense has already made some big plans. Perhaps the biggest AI system that will be developed is the Joint All-Domain Command and Control System, or JADC2 in short. This is a very ambitious project because it will radically transform the American command and control operation. It'll change military planning, communication, and decision-making. JADC2 seeks to build the most impressive military intelligence network to date, powered by AI. It'll connect all the data gathered by the Navy, the Army, the Air Force, the Space Force, and even US allies. This means that once a satellite or a drone detects enemy troops, it will immediately be shared with all military branches and allies. This communication network will be powered by AI to make it as swift as possible. The cloud that the Pentagon is developing is crucial for this because it will store all of this data. Eventually, the goal of the JADC2 network is to connect and coordinate all the aspects of the military. Because information is shared between all military branches, the system will improve joint planning and operations. It'll reliably connect forces across land, air, sea, space, and cyberspace. Additionally, it'll lead to seamless international collaboration as the intelligence is shared with allies. The other goal of the JADC2 network is to transform military planning and decision-making. With AI, the data on the cloud will be analyzed to provide commanders with clear insights on the battlefield. This will provide commanders with real-time intelligence and recommendations for strategies and decisions. Because of this command and control support, the Pentagon hopes to improve and speed up military decision-making. Once it is developed, the JADC2 system will prepare the US military for intelligent warfare. But when it comes to building the network itself, the Pentagon has an interesting policy. Each of the military branches will build their own systems for data gathering and AI command and control support. These separate systems will then be connected to each other. The Army has Project Convergence, the Navy has Project Overmatch, and the Air Force has the Advanced Battle Management System, or ABMS. This matches the idea of centralized coordination, but decentralized execution. The Department of Defense thinks that this will be much more effective for building the system. Although the JADC2 project is a major part of the Pentagon's AI strategy, it's not the only part. The Department of Defense also wants to integrate AI into physical combat and logistics. For physical combat, the US is trying to get autonomous vehicles and weapon systems. In the Air Force, this is happening very fast. It will acquire 1,000 Loyal Wingman drones, which are heavily armed AI-controlled aircraft. As the name suggests, these drones will support fighter jets in combat. There will be 2 drones per F-35. These drones will carry missiles, which will make fighter jets even more lethal in future military operations. But sometime in the future, the drones won't merely support the fighter jets. They could be the fighter jets themselves. The US Air Force is already transforming old F-16s into AI-controlled drones. The same is happening with helicopters, as the first autonomous Black Hawk helicopter has been created. In 2020, the Air Force flew a military U-2 plane with an AI co-pilot. AI-controlled fighter jets, helicopters, and planes aren't that far away. We could also see such radical changes in the US Army. Things like autonomous tanks aren't completed out of the picture. GD and Rheinmetall have recently won a contract for an optionally manned fighting vehicle. This new vehicle is supposed to replace the old Bradley fighting vehicle. It'll have many semi-autonomous features, and the design will allow new, developing technologies to be added to the vehicle. As the name optionally manned suggests, this will mean that the vehicle should be able to drive on its own. Basically, once the AI technology is there, the fighting vehicle could become autonomous. Of course, fighting vehicles are different from tanks, but making tanks with AI features seems like the logical next step. And we shouldn't forget the US Navy, of course, as they also have a huge AI autonomy project. In 2021, it released a document called Unmanned, which describes this project. The Navy seeks to become a hybrid fleet with manned and unmanned vessels, submarines, and aircraft. It will develop and acquire unmanned surface vessels and unmanned underwater vehicles. In the Navy's plan for 2045, its fleet will have 150 autonomous vessels. In 2 years, it plans to acquire its first large-scale autonomous vessel. And autonomous submarines, well, they are already part of the Navy. The Orca submarine, developed by Boeing, is one of these unmanned underwater vehicles. Apart from these lethal applications, however, there are also less exciting ways the US wants to use AI. For example, the Army wants to get unmanned vehicles for military logistics. This shouldn't be too hard, since self-driving cars already exist, and the upside is huge. Unmanned vehicles are cheaper to operate, and there's less risk for humans getting attacked. AI will also be involved in managing the supply chains, which could bolster efficiency by 20%. The Air Force is using AI for predictive maintenance, which makes aircraft more reliable and efficient. So, the US is implementing AI in a lot of ways, but there's no doubt that China is trying to do the exact same thing. The PLA is also trying to get command and control systems and autonomous vehicles. So what is truly going to separate the US and China? First of all, the Pentagon wants to cooperate with its allies. According to the National Defense Authorization Act, supporting NATO's AI cooperation is crucial. NATO has launched the Diana program, which is supposed to help with acquiring dual-use technology. You know, the same technology China is trying to get with military-civil fusion. With the Diana program, NATO will try to get the best innovators from the North Atlantic to improve its defenses. When the US is collaborating with the entire NATO alliance, it will have a lot more resources at its disposal. Another point from the National Defense Authorization Act is the strategic partnership with India on AI. India is the second country globally with a number of STEM graduates just behind China. India has a lot of talent for AI development, which is why a partnership with the country is lucrative for the United States. On top of that, India is a big enemy of China, which makes a partnership feasible. Taking advantage of its alliances is an opportunity for the United States to get ahead. But for the Pentagon, there's another even more important tactic to win the AI race, and that's stopping China. You see, the United States has one major advantage on China. Most of China's advanced chips are designed by American companies like Intel, AMD, or NVIDIA. These advanced chips are crucial for developing AI technology, and China is currently unable to make them by itself. And guess what the US did? Last year, it curbed many chip exports to China. This move damaged China's ability to progress in the AI field, something that Washington intended, of course. And the clampdown is still ongoing, as the Biden administration is considering sending even more AI chip restrictions. On top of that, Washington's allies have joined the restrictions. Japan and the Netherlands have stopped exporting key technologies for chip manufacturing to China. Without the products of companies like ASML, Chinese chip manufacturers are set back years. China won't be able to get advanced chips for a while, and this will undoubtedly hurt their AI capabilities. But restricting China's chip supply is harder than you think. You see, many Chinese companies that create dual-use artificial intelligence fall into a gray zone. They're not military suppliers, but they're not completely innocent either. Chinese tech companies could help the PLA with artificial intelligence because they create the technology for their own products. To completely isolate China from the advanced chips, Washington should target every single Chinese company that makes dual-use technology. It's impossible to look into the future to see which of the two wins the AI race. Both countries have laid out strategies to achieve AI superiority, but only one will be able to achieve it. However, one thing is certain: warfare in the 21st century will be a whole lot different. Artificial intelligence will change every aspect of the military and revolutionize the way countries fight wars. It's important to see which country ends up winning the AI race, because it will decide who wins future wars. Let's just hope that this AI race doesn't spiral out of control.